Okay, yeah,
Don't do that.
don't do it. Yeah. Don't.
Okay, so just don't do that.
Don't do that.
All right, cool. I'm ready.
Let's go.
I don't wanna get too heinous, should say heinous, that's who greatest wolf. I don't wanna talk about genius, should say greatest, that's who greatest wolf. I ain't got time for the haters, no. My life is like a TV show. Try to ignore the narration, pick up my phone and my wallet and my keys and go.
The Kashmir whistle.
Oh, you noticed that? Yeah, that's the sort of main sound. So I'll just play that once through. So all of these would have been played in. I don't really play the keyboard too much, and I'm mostly on the move when I'm producing. So we'll just use these little keys here and there. So these would have just been loads of layers, and some of these would have actually been split afterwards, but some of them would have just been there to add, I guess, melody to the synth line, because I would have started with this one. So this is just the sort of very simple one, and it's doubled a couple times as well. You can hear it in here as well. And these are just splits, so they have slightly different effects on them. It's to do with the side chaining. And I think you can really hear that on this sound. Like, one of the big things about this track is that feeling that the side chain gives in the main sound. And that's basically, side chain is just where you're essentially just inputting something else to let it get out of the way of it. So in this case, I've put a kick, I've side chained the whole chain here to a kick. Just there, you can see it's just from a Ghost. So this basically inputs, and the whole rest of the sound gets out of the way for this. So if we do the main one here, you can see with these kicks just below it where the Ghost is. So I'll just make this bigger so you can see where the Ghost is.
And that's doing the removing the sound out of the way to allow it more space to breathe, basically.
Essentially, yeah, and you can kind of see it on this side over here, how much it's cutting in. Can you see that? Just if I just
right there,
there, you just see it just.
Yeah. Okay.
Just really just eats into it, and it just gives so much more space in the rest of the production. I would have inputted a kick normally for sidechain and liked the effect that it had, and rather than using it as a mixing tool, started to use it as a creative tool and completely changed the actual instrument, essentially.
Sick. And that instrument was just like a random sample you found somewhere?
Yeah, so yeah, let me pull that out actually. I'm just going to make a completely new track here so you can see it. Playing it there, as you can see on the bottom left. Nightmare Fuel.
Yeah.
I like that, but obviously you didn't want that pattern, so I then I basically just took out this little bit. So I just, I think it would have been this part later.
Just like one small part of that
one
whole
small part.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So just becomes one sound.
Yeah, sick.
That would have ended up becoming, as we said before. And what I'll always do in my production is make sure that before looking for another synth sound, I will always try and use the sound I already have as much as possible. So this one, for example, which I added, is much more muffled. It is much more...
So that's the same, it's from the same sample.
Exactly, it's exactly the
even
same
part?
Same part
okay.
as well, but I've just whacked so many effects on it. I've whacked, as you can see, a vocoder. I've really maxed it out on the compression because I want it to give that really crunchy sound almost. And it goes against this really nice airy sound. If you hear them together, one which is really nice and floaty and gives this kind of and one which just pulls it all the way back down again.
What was the next step?
So next step, I would have been whole time, this is just how I produce, the whole time here, I would have just put in a very simple snare and I would have probably done it with the metronome as well. So I would have just been playing it like this, essentially. This snare wouldn't have sounded like that, but this was the snare I ended up landing on. I would probably put the 808 on next, the kicks, like give it all a bit of rhythm. I would always work with the drums and the 808 alongside each other. You want the kick and the 808 to be having the relationship. That's what that is, essentially. And you're thinking about it in terms of all the other drums happening there. I might have put something else, a little hat in to keep some, so I'm not having to use this metronome. I'll probably usually try and turn that metronome off as soon as possible, really.
Okay, sick.
So after that, it would have been just finding a nice bass, which I like, which we have here.
Is that the 6 Squad 808 money?
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. So I would always be working in this very little block, making the tune as full and, as I say, at its most complete as possible. You know, when the tune has all its instruments in,
And
I want that to be
level
there.
of complexity, and
That's
then
it.
you pull back in the later parts.
So what I would always do with the bass is put it up a few octaves so you can just hear the sort of very, like just hear the tonality of it basically, hear the pitch. So it's there. I would just then lock in and just think, okay, that's a nice. Then just bring it down. Then just, that's what I'd just be doing then. Then straight away there, I've got one which might be different to the bass I actually end up using, but you've got something there you can lay down. You just then work with that. So what I end up going with was this. So anytime the bass hits, you've got the kick hitting as well. You've got some triples here, which give it a bit of texture, gives it a bit of variation. After that, it's just about personal preference, just whatever you think is needed. Again, imagine stuff, just play through loops. Like I could add shit. I mean, Grade and late, they're gonna have a fucking aneurysm if they see me trying to add stuff.
Please don't add anything.
It's like almost ready to go. And
in the same way that you played the synth line, you do the same thing for the 808s and just try find something that just speaks to you and it fits in.
I'd just
with the
be
rest of the
having
song.
all of this in a loop. That's the other thing. All of it, like not a whole tune, of course. Like all of this, you essentially would be in an 8-bar loop or a 16-bar loop, just making sure that you're nailing down the whole song, the song at its most full.
Ah, okay.
So I would just carry on until the loop sounds great. You know, it's like this loop is so strong. I can, if I want, very easily and that's how I formulate tunes. I can just extrapolate this into a full song and just almost copy the whole thing. And then in parts just remove stuff. And then you've got a shell. And then after that, it's then about refining again and working out what's needed. The glaring thing about this song is there was already quite a lot of stuff going on, quite a lot of dynamics in the bass, within the like the synth sound, the wind sound. And with Grade's vocals specifically, I think we were writing this together and it really became clear that we wanted to strip this back as much as possible to give his vocal room to breathe, really, because there's a lot of conflicting things. So I think for us, the drum pattern just had to be as simple as possible, really. There's not too much going on here. It's just a bit of extra interesting stuff. It's like I would always say towards the end of bars, you want stuff happening, stuff coming out, just to, again, it's all about that juxtaposition. The next bar you can see here, look, if I zoom in here, we've got something happening here, this open hat, but right before this comes in and then the open hat comes out. And we've also got a snare dropping out here, which is the easiest way to make your beat sound more professional. Is right before a drop, you hear your snare come out.
Okay.
And I'll just play exactly what that bit sounds like in context with the rest of the tune. So right now we'll just play the drums, we're going to play the bass, we're going to play the original instruments, the wind, and that's it.
Sick.
So if we have a look here, you'll see some of the other drums. We'll just play this through this whole bar here, because then you'll also be able to hear the difference between the snare dropping out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, again, it's just that variation. It's just so subtle, so minor there, but it's just those little extra things, like giving the clap or the snare this little clap back, so to speak. And just things off kilter, just giving it a bit. There's not even that much going on. This probably is my most bare drum group in any of my tunes.
Really?
I think so.
Damn.
There's pretty much nothing going on. Look, there's 5 things: kick, snare, an extra little snare, an open hat just to give it that extra. Just like, again, it goes really nice with that original wind as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's this just to give it a little bit of rhythm. This is quite a cool sound. I like it. It's just very minor. It just gives it this little skippy effect. And within the drums. And then with everything. So subtle.
It does give it like a carry effect, like the skippiness definitely comes from that within the drums.
So subtle.
Yeah.
That's all it really needed. You could have gone like a tick, 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 tick.
It could have been too intense.
You want to give that, you want that creepy, sparse vibe. It's already got this very ethereal weirdness to it, like especially these early tunes, this Dark Water, Icarus, like they really have this very dark and sparse feel, minimal feel to them, you know. So then after that, it's just adding the little frills, the little extra little bits, and a lot of these will come even when we've maybe done one record of, or even one run through of what Grade's got so far with his bars. So he might say something and I want to mirror it in the production. Little dropouts, this is where we start to tweak in. You know, I said earlier how I'll make the loop and then we gradually do it out. It's like, there's lots of different processes for that. There's lots of little stages for us anyway, where I'll make a 8-bar loop into a whole tune worth of beat, and then I'll say, what do you think of that? He'll say, this needs to go, you need to change the structure here, this needs to be back here. Then I listen to what I have, then we'll listen through, and I'll almost, sorry Milo, and then I'll almost just try and mirror exactly what he's saying early doors with some of the FX, and those are the final little frills for me, the little things which take it from just like an average beat to having personality and working with the vocal a bit more.
Yeah, and sounding more like a finished song where you have all of this stuff and it's clear that there's production choices made based on like bars specifically.
Exactly.
Written. So it's a whole
it's that attention to detail,
process,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I always said, you can have beats and bars or a song.
Yeah, okay.
And like, I obviously have worked in A&R for a long time, and I can hear when a song has been made separately completely, and they haven't then collaborated afterwards. Yeah. Because there's no consistency. You even subconsciously, you don't even realize that there's not a relationship between them. Because it was so surface level. It was like, literally, it was like you're just riding above it. That's why it's like bars on beats, basically. So I'll just play what will sound like Nightmare Fuel and just play all the FX together.
After hearing this song so many times,
I
can hear the beat in the background and like when it's dropping, when
you're in your head going, "Dankus on camera."
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so that obviously just means almost nothing, but there's some things in here which are non-negotiables for me, and it's little rises. They're so important. As I said, with like a snare dropout, for example, here. Look how, yeah, perfect example. Look how much shit I've got going on over here. Just before, as the snare drops out, as this is in, as that drops out, as all these instruments change, look how much happens right before then.
Yeah.
Equally, how much stops to happen.
Yeah.
You know, if I just play all of this with the drums, for example, together, I'll play the FX and the drums together and you can hear what I mean. So I'll give it a little lead up so you can hear this vocal.
Yeah, okay, so it's all of this building.
All of this, and the snare comes out, and then the snare, and because this bit is supposed to, and for me, an anti-drop is my favorite thing, easily. I would way rather a drop, which is the build-up is all this high stuff, and then the actual drop is just like bass vocal kick.
Yeah, very simple.
Or like, do you know what I mean? Like as simple as possible. It just gives, for me, so you can have so much more impact doing it that way around. Go on then. I'll just play it all together now. I'll bring it in one by one, exactly how I made it.
Yeah, sick.
Okay, so we're going to start with the main sound. Okay, so now we're going to go for the drums, as we said, the snare, and the little extra bits. So then after that, you want the bass and the kick. The kick gives it that extra, I mean, it's massive difference there between the kick. So then all that's then added is just all these effects. You have that. As I say, you can really see, like at the beginning and ends of bars, that's when it kind of picks up and there's more stuff which happens and changes, just to give it that variation.
Yeah, okay, I hear it.
So yeah, that's the whole tune. That's it. And then after that, it's just about Grade's vocals. So we've got all of that down here, but that's for another time.
That's for another time. That's sick, man.
Sick, bro. Sick. Thanks for joining.
Cool.